Action.
Channel. So today we're going to be doing another paranormal story time. There's just too much spoop to go around, so I figured, because I told a lot of mine last week with Haley, that I'm like, wow, I don't have a lot left, so I needed to bring on another special someone to help out, and I brought my big brother. This is Nick, and he freaks me out with his stuff.
I just have like scary experiences,
but his are like really intense, and he called me for one of them.
My girlfriend and I, we were going to go and look at this college that she was, looking into transferring to, and so we went, and on our way back, we left really late in the afternoon. We had meant to leave at like noon, and we left at like, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 o'clock. So we're driving back, and it's already like 10 or 11 at night, and we're just in the middle of nowhere. Like, we can't even listen to like my Pandora radio because we have no internet. I've got no cellular. Like, I can't text. I can't do anything. So I'm driving. She's bored out of her mind, and we're listening to show tunes. So it was all right.
Yeah, it's a good trip.
It was pretty cool. But miles away, as we're driving, we can kind of just see this like glow on the horizon. Mind you, it's pitch black otherwise, besides what we can see from the headlights. And as we keep driving, because we're headed towards it, it's just off on our right a little bit. It gets brighter and brighter, and I'm starting to think maybe it's a fire. So we finally.
Oh, Jesus, it's a fire.
Oh, we eventually get close enough. We're still pretty far out. It's really far away, but we can see that there is very clearly a fire, and this is like we're driving from Amarillo back to San Angelo, so it's a pretty like mountainous, almost like hilly area, and we're driving what's essentially like almost on the side of a cliff, basically. And on the other side, we can see this. It looks like a factory, and it's just on fire. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's pull over and look at it. Like you do every time you die on a horror movie. You go and you look at the.
I'm curious.
You just get curious and you look at the thing. Like, we were just asking for something bad to happen at that point. And so we take this like little U-turn because the road breaks off. And it's just this little turn up to like this gate, and it's like private property or whatever. So we don't go onto it. We're kind of just looking across the valley at this fire. And, me being a good Samaritan as I am, I'm like, I should alert the authorities. I should call the police.
With your no service.
With my no service. So I can't get a hold of the police. I'm dialing 911. I can't get anything. It just keeps, buzzing and saying like cannot connect or whatever it is that my iPhone was telling me, but I can't get in contact with them. And as I'm holding the phone to my ear, this is the third time I'm calling them, I just hear this kind of like really shrill, almost like mechanical sounding, but also it sounded like a deer. If you live in Texas, you'd know like when the deer kind of like hiss at you because they're assholes. Oh, demonetized.
Not even monetized anyway.
Oh, okay, never mind. We're good. They hiss at you and they get really upset, and it sounded like that in terms of like the pitch, and it was like really short, and it was just over with. But it also it left kind of like almost a ringing in my ear. And so I was a little, put off by that. I didn't know what to think about it, but I kind of just let it go. I was just like, oh, it's a deer. It's just a really messed up deer, but it's a deer. And I tried calling again, and it happened again, only this time it, sounded closer. We have the car running. We have the doors, open to the car. And now I'm starting to get a little bit scared. So I asked my girlfriend, did you hear that? Like, I'm hearing this thing. It sounds like a deer hissing. And she pauses, and we're listening for it. And then we hear it again. And the first time it sounded like something was, at least, you know, a couple, like 100 yards out or something, you know, even further than that. The second time it sounded like a little bit closer, but not to the point where I was scared. And this time, I kid you not, it might as well have been 20, 30 feet away from me. It just sounded so much more clear, to the point that I just looked at my girlfriend and we both, like, just ran. Like, I was just like, get in the car, we need to go. And so we're rushing to the car. I can't get any kind of cell service. We literally, I don't even have my door fully closed when I've got, like, I sit in the car, I don't strap in, I'm like, no, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
I make sure my girlfriend's in the car, like, I am good. I'm good like that. But that we just speed off, and I'm literally just, like, hauling, and I'm driving, and I'm having her call the police, like, every second for the next, you know, couple, like, it was like 30 minutes or so before we even got a bar, and we finally get connected to someone, and we call the police regarding the fire, and they're like, oh, we'll check it out. But I had no idea what it was that I heard, and why whatever I heard got as close as it did as quickly. And it just, I don't think I've ever had an experience like that where I've just been out in the middle of nowhere and actually felt like in imminent danger like I did. Like, that was the first time I ever felt like I could actually probably die.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what this thing is. It could have just been a deer. I have a bad thing with deers anyway, and I'll tell you about that.
You had explained it to me immediately after it happened, and it was just terrifying. Like, it was absolutely terrifying the way you were describing it.
It was so terrifying.
I mean, especially because it's like a factory's on fire, like something, it doesn't matter what, it's a creature of some sort, even if it is just a deer, is getting closer, that or there's more than one of whatever it is. And once again, if it's a deer, it's a deer. But the thought that you're in the middle of nowhere, you don't have any service, there's a fire, what caused that fire?
There's this fire on the other hill, and I can visibly see a building that is on fire. I can see the windows and the fire coming out of these windows, and it's just, it's a very, very ominous setting. And I don't know what I heard, but I was terrified.
Yeah.
So
he had actually told me, because he was trying to compare, like, the sound, where he's like, I mean, it sounds like a deer, but also if you've heard, like, from Until Dawn, if you've played the game, he said that at points it sounded like a Wendigo, like just that really shrill.
It sounds like the kind of thing that would have torn vocal cords. It sounded so, like not natural.
I have the audio of a Wendigo, so we can insert that right here. It's creepy, and to
like
hear that in person,
close to that, like that's. Mind you, I had been playing the game Until Dawn at this point in time with a group of my friends, but truly, like, that was, while we were driving, that's what we talked about, is that's the most comparable sound we could put this to. And so, I mean, I don't really think that this video game, if Wendigos were an actual thing, if this video game, like, nailed the sound that they make, but it definitely almost nailed the sound that I heard. So I don't know what it was, but it was terrifying.
Definitely creepy, yeah.
Definitely creepy.
So my spooky story was, once again, a lot of mine were in the last video, but both of these have happened, of course, within the 2 weeks since I filmed these. And so definitely.
So these are fresh.
These are fresh. And once again, they're not that intense, but enough for me to rush away and get out of that situation as soon as I possibly can, because I feel so uncomfortable, and just that lingering fear of, like, something is wrong right now. And okay, so this was, I would say, this was a little bit more recently. This was actually this week, and I was editing, I believe it was my Annabelle video. And so
the doll one?
Yeah, and so of course it's already a creepy atmosphere. I believe that was the one I was editing. Either way, I was editing a video in here in the film room. Of course, I hate talking about it while I'm in here, because I'm just making it worse. But it's fine. Both of them happened in this vicinity. So I had finished editing, and I kept having this feeling that something, you know, just like was behind me, not necessarily bad, but that there's just something behind me, and that, you know, it just, you know, just like if like I were to look up, like there would just be someone like kind of just like standing there, just kind of like curiously watching.
Nope.
And I had that feeling twice. So that was already a little uncomfortable. And so I just kind of got to that point where I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed. Like, I'm already sleep deprived. I should probably get some sleep. So I stand up and I walk out of this room. And this is gonna make it worse. So this film room right here is like where I am a lot, and right next to us is where Nick plays all of his video games. In that room, literally right behind us.
Directly behind this wall.
And so I exit this door, and of course both of the doors are right next to each other. And as I open up the door, I take 2 steps into the hallway, and Nick had already gone to bed, which was shocking because he's usually up until like 3 a.m. But he'd already gone to bed. And I start walking, and I hear a noise come from his game room, and it sounded like it was like kind of like up against the wall, like kind of like in the back of the room almost. And I heard something, and it sounded like, I don't want to say a little girl because then it's going to be like, oh, in comparison to Annabelle, which it wasn't the case. But I heard like, it felt like a tiny like little like something like that. And I heard shuffling because I like looked in that room, of course, like when I walked by to see like, oh, is Nick in there? And when I turned away was when I heard that. And I immediately like stiffened. And like I heard that shuffling as I was walking. So I immediately like go to my room and like I shut the door, and I kept, well, I'm getting chills. I kept having this feeling as I was shutting the door, because what happened is like when I was shutting it, it wasn't a slam because I didn't want to wake all the siblings up, but I was still worried.
I'm terrified, but I'm gonna calmly close this door.
You're the knob. Like I'm shutting it. I kept having this feeling that as I was shutting it, it was just gonna do like a something on the other side.
God, no.
But nothing happened. But it was either way. It was that sense that
something's like right behind you.
Something was right behind me
and it's gonna stop you from going in.
And so that was like obviously creepy in and of itself. So the next morning, I'm in here and I'm putting my makeup on because we're about to go to breakfast together before the kids go to school. And Megan comes in here because she's asking, Megan's our little sister, by the way. She comes in here and she's asking if she could borrow something. I'm like, yeah, sure. And like, I'm kind of like trying to rush because I'm running behind, of course. And so all of a sudden, I hear Megan walk away. She's a loud walker, I guess. It just gets really quiet and she freezes. And I just hear her call like, Maddie? I'm in a rush, so I'm like, what? And she's like, Maddie, come here. I'm like, no, like I don't have time. And she's like, come here. And I didn't come there, but she comes back into the room and she's just like, did you lock my bathroom door? I'm thinking like, why would I have any reason whatsoever to lock her bathroom door? She's like, did you lock my bathroom door? Because what we have is we have a conjoined bathroom.
It's a Jack and Jill.
It's a Jack and Jill. So what could happen is I could go over to that door if I'm using like the shower or something and lock that door, and she won't be able to get into the bathroom. But neither of us do that ever. We've done it maybe twice, and it was because we were like in 5th grade and we were really petty. And so I'm like, no, I didn't. She immediately calls downstairs to our mom like, did you lock the bathroom door? Everyone's saying no. She couldn't get into the bathroom. It was completely locked. And it was just that situation where no one had locked the bathroom door. That weird thing had happened just the night before, and I had felt that weird presence behind me up until I got to my bedroom door. Like once I went in, like I felt like it was like behind me further.
Space.
Yeah, well,
like,
just like it had kind of stopped at one point. Like it kind of stopped over by where the stairs were. But either way, very unsettling and just an uncomfortable coincidence. Shut up. An uncomfortable coincidence for that to happen right after I had that odd experience. And I didn't tell her about that, but if she's watching this, hi.
I said I have this thing with deer, and that actually is kind of derived from I had a nightmare one time when I was I think I was a sophomore in high school, or I might have been a freshman. It was around my younger high school days of Bosch.
You're youngin'.
I was a youngin', and truly, like I'd never had a dream that has affected me this much to this day. And I'm 21 now. I'm about to be 22. Mm-hmm. I vividly remember every detail of what I saw. So basically, all it was, and it just started, was I felt like, mind you, this is the dream. I'm in a dream, but I woke up in the dream. And I wake up, and I know I've got to use the restroom. And because of, you know, dream logic and the wonderful things that makes you do, instead of going to the bathroom that's attached to my bedroom or any of the other, you know, 3 in the entire household, I thought to go outside. So I make my way down the stairs. It's pitch black. I can't see anything. So I grab a flashlight, I open the garage door, and I go outside, and I walk across the pavement to go and just, you know, take a whiz. I put the flashlight in my mouth to hold it for a second while I'm urinating, and just off in the distance, it's pitch black. I vividly remember not being able to see more than maybe like 10 or 20 feet in front of me. And that's like even with the flashlight, like it's just pitch black. And I see this pair of like glowing white eyes. And so I think to myself, you know, that's a deer. It's literally a deer in the headlights. Except I can't see the actual deer. I can only see its eyes. And it's looking right at me. And so I get a little bit, you know, uneasy. I just feel this wave of like uneasiness pass through my body. I'm suddenly like, I don't have to pee anymore. I'm okay now. I'm ready to go back inside, you know, maybe pee in any of the restrooms in the household. That would be a better idea than being out here right now in the middle of the night. So I take a step back and I see it follow me with its eyes. Literally, it's just a step back, but I know it's looking directly at me and it's not moving at all. I can't tell if it's breathing. I don't even know, you know, what's there, truly, just these eyes. And so I get this really uneasy feeling, and I'm just like, okay, I need to get inside now. Like, I can't be out here anymore. So I take another step back, and then I literally pulled the ultimate, I hate this person in horror movies move, and I'm not even joking, I tripped and I fell on my butt. And as I'm falling, I just see it recognize that I'm falling. And it starts to jump in these little diagonal angles, and I can see it now. I can see it. It's this pitch black deer with dark black feathers covered in it. And it's got these massive black antlers. Like, this thing is quite literally, I don't know how I could see it and differentiate it from the pitch black behind it, because it's still pitch black, but I could see it moving. And it starts just dashing at me, and it finally gets close to me, and I just know I screamed so loud because I thought I was gonna die. I knew I was going to die. And it just rears its hooves back, and as it's coming down onto me, I just see its face like melt back into something that resembles human. It's pitch black. It's got these yellow eyes, but it's a human face. And then I shot up in bed. Like, I just jumped up, straight up. I'm sweating, I'm panting, and I'm literally like shaking to a point where like I didn't know like I could be so scared to shaking to the point like I was shaking. I might as well have been like actually shivering as though I were freezing. It was like that intensive.
Yeah.
And like to this day, like I still remember that dream, and like every other dream, like nightmares and things that I have, I might hold on to like little bits and pieces of it, but this was so vivid. Like I felt it.
He told me that story only recently, and we were, of course, outside.
When I told the story.
When he told the story, and
I'm great at picking time and place.
I could basically see it playing out.
Because you can see the area that I'm talking about. We were all sitting outside and just talking.
So it was in my vision
right
where I was
there.
like, that's where it happened.
And
oh
you
my
can
God.
see how possible it is.
And then, of course, the moment he finished telling the story, I was quiet because obviously I was like kind of freaked out. I was like, oh my goodness. A twig literally snapped just randomly. I'm like, let's just go inside. Be it a deer or not, a deer is not what I want to see at the moment. So we just...
And to this day, literally every time I see even just like a doe, any deer, it doesn't have to have antlers, it doesn't have to be at night, I'll see a deer and I just get this little bit of an uneasy feeling. Because if it looks at me, I just get that
You just
feeling.
kind of know.
I just know. Like, I feel like it's connected. And maybe that's just stupid, and maybe that's just like I'm literally traumatized by this dream, and I'm just like I hate deer forever now, like everybody else does in Texas,
Basically.
but for a different reason. And I just that's literally my waking nightmare.
Okay, so this is going to be my last story. And once again, I only had 2 things happen to me recently that I felt like were worth mentioning, and it was in this room, which makes me feel uncomfortable talking about it because this is supposed to be my safe place. I don't want to be thinking about it, but this is all, obviously you can take it with a grain of salt, could just be pure coincidence, but I was freaked out. So I had never seen The Ring before.
I haven't either.
We'd never seen The Ring before, but I had done a makeup look for The Ring. And so I figured when I was editing it, I hadn't started editing, and I was like, okay, well, this video is going up tomorrow. I really feel like I should have some sort of idea of what it's like.
And I'm going to be such a poser if I do this makeup look.
Exactly.
I've never seen the movie.
Exactly. So I was like, I need to do some research, and I've heard it's like a really...
Research.
Yeah, I call it research. And it's a really great movie, and so I made all of my siblings, we all sat together huddled on a freaking tiny couch.
It's a love seat, and there were 3 people and 2 dogs on this thing. We were snuggled up. But it did give me insight on like how to edit the video, so that was definitely very helpful. But that being said, because we ended up watching the movie at like 5 in the evening, I was editing at 7, and then doing other things, and so it ended up taking me later into the evening when I was still editing this video and everyone else was asleep. So we had just watched The Ring, and I was up here, and I would say it's probably, of course, between 2 or 3 in the morning, because I have impeccable timing. And so I'm just editing, and it got to the point where I was editing the intro for the video, and I didn't have any songs, any volume or anything like that, because for me, I was like, I can insert that in the morning because I don't need to be listening to that on repeat at the moment while I'm editing. So it was completely silent, which was totally fine. The pictures themselves, I wasn't getting too creeped out about. So I was just editing them, like it was fine. It's going pretty well, actually. And so I was sitting on the corner of the couch right here. And a little bit of backstory, my dad, we had like an old box TV that we've had for like how many years? Like since before you were... Literally...
Like 25 years.
Literally since before flat screens were a thing.
Yeah,
like,
it was...
That is a long time.
It was a big box TV.
It's like not even getting this thick. It's massive. It weighs more than I do.
And so that was in the cabinet right there. And we have had that in there for a while now. My dad just decided after I moved back that he was going to move a different TV to there. So he got rid of the box TV. Don't know where it is, either given away or in the attic. And a new TV is now in that cabinet. My dad had just recently set it up as in like 3 weeks prior to me experiencing this. So it's been set up, it's completely new, and I'm sitting editing, no volume, no nothing, just chilling and doing my work, and all of a sudden the TV starts to make a noise. And it starts to make a noise that the only thing I can compare it to is, I wouldn't even say it's like a VHS sound. It's when you would have like those old box TVs and it would just randomly click and kind of make that noise of like, oh, I'm working, like, because it's really old, and so it's trying to figure out like
how do I TV?
How do I perform basic functions? And so it makes like that few subtle little clicking noises. And so I'm editing and I hear that come from the TV and I just freeze. Because this is a new TV. I've been in this room constantly, day and night before, and it had never once made this noise. And of course, it's right after we watched The Ring, like same
which has to
day
do
with TV
this
and
girl climbing out of a TV and then like.
So I'm frozen and I'm thinking to myself like, okay. You know, your laptop satellite could be interfering with
the satellite
TV.
that is my laptop.
Yeah, I'm
obviously.
like, oh, it's interfering. It's because in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay,
the government is just watching me right now. That's all.
Well, whenever I record voiceovers, and if anyone else here records voiceovers professionally or does gaming videos or anything like that, you'll know that, like, for example, if you have your phone too close to your microphone, if you have your headphones, then you'll hear like a little So I'm thinking, okay, it might be something like that. So I'm trying to write it off and not freak out. And so I just go back to editing, and 20 minutes later, it happens again. And that is, first of all, for it to never have done this and to suddenly be doing it, I was done. I put my laptop away and I went to bed. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but given the circumstance of...
And it's night and we just
watched The Ring. So I was just freaked out, and, you know, even talking about it will make me nervous sometimes. So very simple, I know, but very uncomfortable.
What makes me really uncomfortable is that you have these experiences and you don't tell any of us.
No, I keep
Because
to
if
myself.
there was something coming out of that TV, I would have just been sitting in the room behind here, like first to die. Okay, my final story. All right, and this is like...
This is the worst. And this includes
like,
me too.
Yeah, this
is like our final
her.
story.
This is our final story. Yeah, there won't be another episode of this. We'll be dead by next time.
Why would you say that?
One night, I was living in San Angelo in an apartment with two of my friends. And we had a group of people over for the evening. We were all kind of just hanging out. We did that like just about all the time. We always had people over. My roommate, who was he was Native American, he knew how to read tarot cards. Not that tarot cards are comparable to, you know, like a Ouija board or anything like that. I know it does just freak some people out, but we were playing tarot cards, and of course it did freak, like, you know, a few of us out a little bit, but it was interesting to hear what he had to say. So we read tarot cards, we're sitting on the front porch, and we're all just talking, and we finished up. I got the second read, so I'd been done for a decent amount of time, but we finished up the read for my other roommate, and then we were done. And my other roommate just kind of gets this, after his tarot's done being read, he just gets this really like uneasy feeling, because he's leaning against the door to our apartment, because we're all outside smoking and just chatting. He asks my roommate, the one who read the tarot, if he'll go in and he'll just, you know, sage the apartment. He says a Native American prayer that, you know, wards off evil spirits. And so he asked him if he would, you know, go and do that, because we did that when we moved in, and we would do that every now and then whenever, you know, we were just getting, you know, stressed, or if we had like an uneasy feeling. We didn't live in like the best neighborhood, so there were some times where it was probably just something going on with our neighbors, but sometimes we would hear things that we just didn't quite understand. We thought we had a haunted dresser for a while, so he just asked if he'd sage it, and so he did. He saged the kitchen first, he did, you know, the windows, and he went through to all the rooms, and then he came to my room last. And so he opens the door to my room, which at the time was, you know, completely empty apart from my bed and like a table, and that was pretty much it. I don't live high maintenance.
Yeah.
He goes in and he just gets this really cold chill. Like, he said he felt like, you know, somebody was just breathing on the back of his neck almost, and he gets that cold chill. So he starts saying a different prayer, something a little bit more intensive. He starts telling whatever it is in the room that it has to leave. And it was I forget exactly what it was the prayer was, but it was something far more intensive than just, you know, like, go away, go home, you don't belong here. It was very much like a, you need to get out of here, you don't belong here. And he's starting to get really, really scared. When he told me about it after he came outside, he said he'd never been so scared in his life. But he says it, and as he's just about to finish it up, he hears something in my bathroom, which is attached to my room. And that cold chill just like hits him again, and he hears my shower curtain open. I kid you not, he comes out of the apartment to all of us bawling, And I think I saw him cry maybe twice. After an entire year of living with him, I think I saw him cry maybe twice. And that's including this one time. And he was just absolutely mortified. And he just told me that there's something in your room that does not like you. And as he kind of, calmed himself down a bit, he was telling me that he believed it was following me, that it was like attached to me, that there was some kind of negative thing potentially that I'd been keeping in my life, and that this thing that was in my room was feeding upon. And so eventually, after a lot of time contemplating whether or not I was ever going to go back into that apartment, I'll just sleep in my car or on the park, or I'm just gonna go home. I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna go in my room, because I'm gonna go in, because he told me I have to go in and tell it that it has to leave. And he taught me a few other things that I could do to help protect myself. He gave me some sage to burn if I needed to. But I go in to my room, and as I'm walking in, I get that same eerie feeling, and I felt like I did when I was a little kid, and I was staying up past my bedtime, and I could hear my parents coming towards my room, and I knew I was about to get caught. That kind of chilling nerve is what I felt. And I look into my bathroom, and I turn on the light. Looking at my shower curtain, I can clearly see that it's been pulled open, but there is indentions inside of it that shape about 4 fingers that look like they're still holding it open, because the curtain, instead of as something hanging normally would just hang straight, it's slanted, and then you can see the indentions of whatever seems to be holding it, and then it's slanted back again. And so I'm looking at my shower curtain, and I'm literally getting this feeling of I can't see it, but there's something holding my curtain open right now and looking at me. And if I'm being completely honest, I just noped out. I just flipped that light switch back off. I turned around. I bailed out of my room. I went straight down to my car. I started panting. I was having not really a breakdown, but I was terrified. I'd never seen anything like that before. My shower curtain wasn't this stiff material that would make sense. If my roommate was just pulling a prank on me and he just pulled it open and made sure to make it look like that. If it was stiff material, I could be you're messing with me, bro.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that. It was very much the kind of curtain that would just swing back. I went out to my car, and I tried to contact my sister, and I tried calling her several times. And I couldn't get a hold of her.
Yes, here's the thing. Okay, so Haley's actually in the room right here. All of us were part of this in some way. So
they're all involved.
I had to wake you up.
Yes, exactly. So what happened was, I always, no matter what, have the volume on my phone when I go to bed every single time, because if anything were to happen, I want to know. And no matter what, I might miss a text. I might not wake up to a text. Honestly, I likely would not wake up to just a text message. But I would always wake up to a phone call, and I would always pick up, because you never know what's happening. You never know if you're going to be needed. You never know if
an alarm,
anyone's in trouble.
Because it keeps going off. It's not just a single thing.
And so a lot of the times, Haley would call me because, something spooky would happen to her, and she'd call me because she's freaking out. Or Maddie Bear would call me, or, someone would call me, and I'd always pick up because I want to be there for them. And the weird thing is Haley and I were sleeping downstairs in the game room, and Nick was calling me, and you probably called me
about 5 or 6 times.
He called me 5 times.
And
I distinctly remember waking up, seeing he called me. And I'm not the kind of person to do this, and this is what was weird.
And she's not. She will literally call or text you back regardless.
Immediately. And so I see he's calling me. It says Nick Cline, and I press decline, and I go back to sleep. And he keeps calling me.
Declined.
He got declined. He keeps calling me, and it gets to the point where Haley comes over to me, and she shakes me, and she's like, Maddie, Nick is calling you. I really think you should pick up. So I like sit up and I'm like I suddenly realized what I had done. And it was just that moment of why
what?
I've never hung up or not even answered the phone when someone was calling me in the middle of the night because they needed. It was so weird. And so I pick up the phone, and immediately from his first few words, I knew something was wrong. And he was just like, "Hey, Maddie, I think I'm in trouble." So immediately I'm like, "Oh no, the police are involved. This is dangerous. What's happening?"
I'm a drug lord.
No, it was just, I was immediately freaked out. I'm like, "What's wrong?" And so he starts explaining this to me. He starts explaining it to me, and I'm immediately getting a bad feeling to the point where, like, I was laying down and just, like, listening to him, even though I knew, like, he was in trouble. And the moment he starts explaining the situation, I sit up and I look at Haley.
Yeah, that was
like,
creepy.
Yeah.
I, like, thought something was really wrong.
I sit up and, like, turn the lights on. Because I immediately had a weird feeling. And so part of me, like, the major part of me was like, I'm here, I'm so happy, like, he felt that he could call me and talk to me about this. But there's a tiny part of me that was almost annoyed and angry at him, that was like, why would you call me and possibly, like, throw all of this on me? But which is so unrealistic, but it was the middle of the night, and our house is terrifying in the middle of the night. And so I was just thinking to myself, why would you potentially, like, because I was really naive, and I'm like, you're sending it through the phone. Why are you doing this?
You're the only person, like, in the family, really, besides Dad, and I did call Dad later, that, like, really, like, listens and, like, gets it.
Yeah. At least listens. And
at least listens. Yeah.
So it was really creepy. He explained it all to me. I was freaked out. And normally, after, like, something happens, I literally tell Haley absolutely everything. And I hang up with Nick, and I just have that moment where, like, I look at her and I'm like, I'll tell you in the morning. Because I could not talk about it. Even with the lights on and everything, I just could not relay exactly what Nick had just told me because I was just scared. I just, like, I felt, once again, that something was wrong, and I was like,
because I felt like there was something literally in my room.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing too, the part about my roommate telling me that this thing had been following me is, for, you know, weeks leading up to this point, I had been struggling to get out of bed in the morning, not because of any, like, depression or anything like that. Like, everything was fine. Like, I was doing great. It's just every time I would wake up, I would feel this, like, urge to just go back to sleep. And literally I'd wake up and I'm not even tired, and I'm like, I'm thinking about that cup of coffee that I want to have. I'm thinking about what I want to do with my day. I'm thinking about how I've got work in a few hours, and it's like, no, go back to sleep. And so I felt literally, and it kept getting, like, worse and worse and worse, to the point where I was getting up 30 minutes before my shift, which actually started at, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And literally, I'm getting up at 1:30, and I'm just rushing to take a shower because I'm like, I have to go. I have to get to work. But it had gotten increasingly more, like, powerful, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
Basically, I felt like something was kind of wrong with me. You know, I felt like something was just bumming me out, and I couldn't think of what. Like, I couldn't think of anything that was wrong. Everything there was fine. So, I mean, I had talked to my roommates about it, and that was actually kind of a part of why we ended up reading the tarot, because I was really curious about, you know, where I'm gonna be and, you know, what's going on. It didn't make sense to me, like, and so it started bumming me out, and I think it was, like, feeding off of that, and I think it was, like, feeding off of my, you know, discomfort in the situation and what was going on. And sure enough, he said, like, it had been following me, and I don't really know. I don't know what it was. I know that I slept with Sage next to my bed for, like, 2 weeks. I slept with a broom with the bristles up by the door. I did all these little like, nuances and all these things, like the Buddha in the room, the evil eye over the door, stuff like that. Like, I did stuff like that because I was just genuinely terrified of, you know, whatever had been in my room, and I had to tell it like every morning, you don't belong here. And I was that terrified of it. I genuinely believed, even like a week and a half after, that there was still something there.
Yeah.
So
just very unsettling. And that is it for our paranormal story time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to check out Nick. I will link all of his widgets and fun things down below. He actually hasn't even been on Instagram in like over a year. So
like since 2015.
yeah, maybe don't check him out, but
don't
either
check
way,
me out.
Yes, and this isn't going to be the last time you see him. He is actually going to be in next week's video, and we're doing something different on this channel. I know it's a Spoopy Saturday, but this is not just talking, this is screaming. So, lots of, I'm gonna regret it, but it's gonna be fine because, it's gonna be exciting. I think it's gonna be entertaining for you guys, not so entertaining for me and Nick. But anyway, we will see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Bye! Maybe I should really like this time, do you think?
What if like we're all just like... What if like, no, you come
What
this
if we
way?
do the way? Oh.
Come this way?